I recently learned my father was cheating on my mother. I instantly went nuclear. Advice on my response / how to move forward with my family. Hi Reddit, I have a juicy one for you. I say that because the actual drama has largely played itself out, but I'm feeling some guilt over what I've done, and could use advice on how to move forward. Using a throwaway and changing some details just to be safe. Background on my family is that it's been pretty idyllic. My 25M folks' 50s have always gotten on well, are strong communicators, parented myself and my younger siblings as a team, and were very good parents. My teenage years were a rough patch in my relationship with my father, but since I left for college at 18 we really began getting along. When I pictured a strong marriage, I pictured my parents, bar none. The other day, it all came crashing down. This entire story takes place over roughly an hour. I received a Facebook message request from a stranger. I've been trying to fill an empty spot in my apartment, so I was in the habit of accepting these requests, and figured it was someone interested in the room. The initial messages were odd, however, broken English, small talk, no mention of an apartment. I then figured it was a scam of some sort, so I of course kept messaging the woman to see where it went and waste their time. Then, she made a comment about my sister, and said that her boyfriend talks about me and my sister all the time. I asked who her boyfriend was. She replied, "Your dad. He doesn't talk about me?" At this point, I assumed I was being blackmailed or scammed. My father's career led him to a very high-profile corporate job with a massive international company, so it was definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Certainly my father wasn't cheating on my mother. Then she sent photos, one of those tri-frame Instagram photos. Her on the beach with a man who was no doubt my father. Selfies with arms around each other, one with her kissing him on the cheek. I thought, okay, this could be real. Or, that could be some younger female coworker who's just overly affectionate and dad indulged her in a selfie. This scammer found it and is using it. Around this time, I started getting unprompted, unrelated texts from my father. How are you, how are things going, etc. Odd timing, right? Thinking on my feet, I took a new approach. When she asked again if my father had mentioned his girlfriend to me, I quickly responded, yes, of course, sorry, I just wasn't sure which one you were. My thinking was that if this was a scam, saying my father was routinely unfaithful to my mother and dated multiple women at once removed their leverage. If this was real, then I'd throw a wrench in my dad's affair and force the truth out. Oh boy, did I get what I bargained for. The woman freaked out, frantic questions about who this made-up other woman was. I answered them all, and concocted a story about a woman I'd met just a few months prior, who was from country my father works in regularly, made up a name, said my father had been dating women on the side for years, etc. She bought it entirely. The woman asked to speak on the phone, so I obliged. At this point, I realized this was real. The woman was in hysterics, sobbing about how she thought my father loved her, how could he do this, so on and so forth. I kept playing it cool and acted sympathetic, spinning fiction that my father had been a player for years and that he was usually upfront with his girlfriends about seeing other women, and that I was so sorry she had to hear from me. This let me learn who she was and how long the affair had been going on. Then, she asks if I'd be willing to be on a three-way call with her and my father, without his knowledge. I immediately said yes. Within 60 seconds, I was muted on a three-way call listening to my father console this strange woman, who I had fully convinced that she was one of many side chicks, and explained to her that I was attempting to sabotage their relationship because of what I'd just learned. He didn't know that his father was cheating on his mother. He didn't know that his parents are getting a divorce, and now he's just learned that from a stranger, he explained. At this point, I hopped on the call and let him know that, actually, I had learned about the divorce from him, since his insecure witch of a girlfriend hadn't said anything about the divorce yet. He said, "Oh, Christ," and I left the call. I called my mother immediately afterwards to figure out what was going on. She let me know that the two of them had been going through the early stages of a divorce for several months, that it was amicable and they both thought it best, and had plans to tell all three of us once things were more finalized. She said that she had only learned of the affair, however, a few days prior to this incident. The following morning, after a lengthy and heated discussion with my parents, I sent an email to both of them outlining why I was so hurt by this. I don't care about them getting divorced, I trust them to do it kindly and amicably, and they both seem intent on doing it that way as well. I did care about this insane woman thinking it was okay to contact me. My father probing me once he realized that I had been contacted by his GF. My father consoling his GF of 3 months instead of contacting me once he realized that I knew about the affair. My father carrying on an affair and endangering his wife and children, rather than just waiting until after the separation. Ultimately, I told my father not to contact me until I had reconciled what kind of relationship I want to have with him at this point. Here's where I need advice. I feel guilty about what I did. I immediately, ruthlessly, and effectively destroyed the relationship that my father had with this woman, who for her part at least seemed to really love him and feel loved by him. She is now convinced that he was cheating on her too. While it's obviously my dad's own fault for starting this relationship in secret while he was still with my mother, I still wonder if I've destroyed something that could have been really good for my dad. I'm also kind of shocked at myself for being able and willing to manipulate people like that. I also don't know where to go from here. I'm absolutely disgusted by my father and have lost a lot of respect for him. I'm not the one being cheated on, but I definitely feel like I've been put second fiddle to his GF of 3 months. The damage control should have been with his son, not his mistress, right? Even so, I love my father, and have been building a wonderful relationship with him over the last 4 to 6 years especially. I don't want to throw that all away. I can't figure out in my head what it is I want him to say or do that will allow me to forgive him. I would love any thoughts on my behavior in this situation, or how I can reconcile my love for my dad with this absolute loss of respect I have for him.
Relevant comments. Yensid 7. I'm a little confused by these timelines. You said your father was with this new woman for a few months. You said your mother said they had been planning the divorce for a few months. It sounds like their relationship is already done. Do you know whether your father's new relationship started after they had agreed to a divorce? Or after they had already ended it? The reason I'm asking is because a divorce is just a legal proceeding to dissolve the marriage. Once they've agreed to the divorce, the relationship is done. Calling it an affair if it started after the previous relationship ended seems like a stretch. The timeline of a marriage and a relationship are usually not the same. A relationship usually begins well before a marriage and ends well before a divorce. It would be like saying an affair isn't an affair if the couple is only engaged and not yet married. While it's not very classy to start a new relationship that quickly, if he did, I could see why he wouldn't tell your mom, knowing it would probably hurt her to move on so quickly. Though in the case of a divorce after a long marriage, at least one of the two parties, many times both in an amicable divorce, usually has been done in their mind long before it got to the point of starting divorce proceedings.
OP. You said your mother said they had been planning the divorce for a few months. It sounds like their relationship is already done. Do you know whether your father's new relationship started after they had agreed to a divorce? After speaking with my parents, individually and together, I've learned that the affair was happening before divorce talks/separation had started. My folks have also, still, not yet engaged in any legal proceedings, just discussions with each other and their pastor. My mom also did not learn of the affair until nearly 3 months after it had started. The reason I'm asking is because a divorce is just a legal proceeding to dissolve the marriage. Once they've agreed to the divorce, the relationship is done. Calling it an affair if it started after the previous relationship ended seems like a stretch. Now, I did not know this at the time I made my decisions, but in the aftermath I've confirmed that it did indeed begin before the marriage had ended, by any definition. The timing was indeed close.
UBT 400. I can see both sides, honestly. He did something that completely broke your trust, kept it secret, and consoled someone who's a complete stranger to you as you learned of divorce from his own mouth. Meanwhile, you kinda walked right into that last one by accepting a 3-way call. Then went nuclear. I understand that emotion can completely sweep people away, especially something big like affairs and divorce, but you are 25 years old. Silent 3-way calls are high school tier. If you want to fix this, reach out to your mom and talk it out with her first. Then reach out to your dad when you've got a better idea about what's going on. Explain to both of them that they should not have lied and hid this from you, and that this random woman contacting you hit you like a damned wrecking ball. They shouldn't be surprised about how it played out. Your dad could have handled this whole thing way better, but then again you could have as well.
OP. I understand that emotion can completely sweep people away, especially something big like affairs and divorce, but you are 25 years old. Silent 3-way calls are high school tier. Well sure, but again I took this approach to confirm what was happening. At this point I was not fully sure it wasn't a scam. Revealing myself on the call was absolutely an emotionally driven decision, though, definitely not my most mature moment. My other point is that my dad clearly knew that I knew what was up before he accepted the call from his GF, since he was sending me roundabout probing messages. I think that his response should have been to ignore his affair partner and contact me immediately and directly to explain the situation, especially since my mom was already aware of the whole thing, I learned later. If you want to fix this, reach out to your mom and talk it out with her first. Then reach out to your dad when you've got a better idea about what's going on. Explain to both of them that they should not have lied and hid this from you, and that this random woman contacting you hit you like a damned wrecking ball. They shouldn't be surprised about how it played out. Already taken these steps, I'm trying to figure out how to move forward from here. I don't want to lose my relationship with my father, but I'm struggling to see how I can forgive him for the deception and disrespect. Update. Wanted to post an update since the OP got a decent amount of attention and the advice was really helpful. Firstly, thanks to everyone who commented. I got some really reassuring advice, some challenging points of view that helped me be more introspective, and some rather flattering remarks about my quick thinking. Y'all really helped me feel in control and added some context to my perspective, so thank you. Since my post, a few things have happened. My parents spoke as a pair to each of our family members individually, my siblings, but also my aunts and uncles, grandparents, etc., to let them know about the divorce, the affair, and about what went down between me/my father/this other woman. My family is pretty universally upset with my father. Not that I want everyone hating on him, but he did, at best, screw up royally, and it's good to know that no one is choosing teams instead of acknowledging who did wrong. My parents have both blocked this other woman from all phone lines/social media, etc. This is in part why the rest of the family was notified, so that they'd be aware if this woman tried to make contact. After the above, we learned that this woman had attempted to contact my 17Y.0 sister 24 hours before the events of my OP. My sister missed the messages and didn't see them until after everything happened and was out in the open. Still not speaking with my father, but have talked with other family about what's going on. As for how I'm feeling about the situation, any guilt that I had for what I did vanished the second I learned that this woman tried to contact my sister first. While my response was to tear this whole thing apart as quickly and effectively as I could, I cannot imagine what my poor little sister would have gone through if she'd had contact with this woman. I'm livid that she thought this was even remotely appropriate, and I'm livid that my father at any point thought this was a safe or stable person to involve himself with. Therefore, I don't feel even a bit guilty about what I did any longer. I'm staying no contact with my father until I sort through what I want to hear from him, and seeking counseling to talk through how my anger in this moment/at this situation is undoubtedly linked in all sorts of messy ways to my upbringing, etc. Crazy how hard it is to find a LPC with a greater than 3-month waiting list, but I'll get there. Thanks again for the great comments on my OP. It really helped me judge which of my feelings were valid, and where I needed to cut myself a break. I think I'm in a better place now, but of course would love to hear any further advice/similar stories that y'all think might be helpful, or answer questions. Cheers.